Throughout the remainder of Phase 5 and 6, there's likely going to be no larger threat than that of Kang the Conqueror, the multiversal tyrant. And despite at his core only being human, he is proving to be quite a formidable foe, one that is potentially far more dangerous than even the Mad Titan Thanos. What makes him so dangerous is just how many malicious variants he has crawling throughout the multiverse, and each of which is immediately ready to replace the last on their quest for bloodshed and conquest. With this in mind, it's been commonplace to theorize as to how many variants we've already seen of Kang, and how many different versions we might end up seeing in the end. While we know of one in Quantumania, set to make his debut in February, one that is currently ruling the TVA as of the end of Loki, and of course He Who Remains. We are not entirely sure if these are in fact separate variants, or if they are all actually the same individual. Let us explain. Today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, stick with us as we explore the theory that all three of these figures are actually the same version of Kang living out one long lifetime. This particular theory is somewhat of an amalgam based on a few previous ideas that we've suggested in the past, so bear with us as we recap a few of the most important theories, and then tie them all together. First, let's examine the theory which centers around the quantum realm, and the idea that the TVA is actually located within the quantum realm itself, which serves as the preeminent explanation for their capabilities. We know time not only works differently in the quantum realm, but can be navigated, as Tony Stark discovers in Endgame. He constructs what he describes as a fully functioning time-space GPS, but this technology bears a striking resemblance to the methods that the TVA operates under, and that they use to navigate different points in history and space, as well as what He Who Remains was shown to possess in the closing moments of the Loki finale, with the technology being very similar. When Loki asks Mobius how long he's been working there, he offers an explanation that bears a striking resemblance to what we've already heard from Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, which is, quote, "I don't know, time works differently in the TVA." So if the quantum realm can be used to navigate time, this explains how TVA Minutemen can jump two different points in time and space, very similar to how the Avengers did in Endgame, as we see the Avengers not only traveling to different points in history, but different locations as well. The Avengers are able to travel virtually anywhere from New York to Asgard to Morak, even though they all started by using the same quantum tunnel, much like the Minutemen and the TVA are able to do so as well. And it would also explain how Kang is so adept at traversing the multiverse, because it all stems from the same place. If we are to conclude that the TVA is located in the quantum realm, then it would make sense that their leader, at one point or another, resided in the quantum realm, and we've actually come to learn that the Kang from Quantumania is trapped here, based on various leaks and information. The second part of this theory proposes that this Kang will take influence from his imprisonment, and will be inspired to create an entire civilization in the quantum realm. He is presumed to conquer Krylar's society, and reallocate this army for his own. And though this hasn't been confirmed as of yet, it's the most popular idea to date as to exactly how Kang gets this army. This would mean that Kang would create a society which can use the quantum realm to travel anywhere and everywhere that he wished. If this Kang trapped in the quantum realm eventually found this version of the TVA, then it would mean that the statue at the end of Loki is the same individual that we're about to meet in Quantumania. We also recently published a theory that the figure in Loki is actually He Who Remains from the past, essentially, meaning that if both of these theories are true, then all three of these individuals would be the same iteration of the Conqueror. To recap that theory, this goes as follows. The Time Variance Authority still had to have a timeline of its very own if it wasn't in line with the rest of the universe. So even though it exists out of time, it has its own past, present, and future. It had a foundation by He Who Remains, a growth period where it expanded and learned, and a rise to maturity under He Who Remains' leadership, who worked out the kinks of how to get the TVA to a functioning point. He needed to do testing and experience trial and error before he could hone into the specific operating practices of the organization, and this could only be done if the TVA itself also had a timeline of its own. In short, it didn't simply materialize fully with the TVA being in its form that we see, but it now was slowly built over time by this Kang. If this is the case, then it's very likely, one might even argue that it's almost certain that He Who Remains once took a much more hands-on role when founding the TVA as an organization, building it from the ground up, and figuring out how everything was to work firsthand. He would have personally pruned the first individuals that he recruited, and showed them how to run the organization, and he would have needed to build the faces of the Timekeepers in order to keep everyone in line. and someone would have had to know him before he went into hiding. Now that we have all three of these pieces in place, let's construct the lifetime of this Kang the Conqueror and how we propose that this variant might have lived out his entire existence, and maybe the villainous Kang in Quantumania. First, he was a foot soldier in the Multiversal War, which will be the backstory explained in Quantumania, we theorize. This Kang has been identified as something of a warrior variant, adept at hand-to-hand combat, and an avid practitioner of several different fighting styles, making him particularly dangerous in combat. He spends much of his life in conflict with his variants, until he finds himself trapped in the quantum realm, having had this time chair stolen by him by Janet, which is again another theory we suggest that you guys check out. This will lead into the events of Quantumania, and this Kang will come to learn of different civilizations existing within the quantum realm and how to use them for his own benefits. He is presumed to attack Krylar's home, and many believe that he will reallocate Krylar's army and adapt it as his own once the conquest is done, and this might inspire him to build a hub in the realm as we mentioned. This idea might lead to the construction of the TVA, his own private militia located in a domain where they can reach any place and any time at a whim. They can use his time-space navigation technology to traverse the multiverse, and in the early days, he takes a very hands-on role in founding the organization, which would theoretically lead into the final minutes of Loki. If Loki isn't actually in an alternate version of the TVA, but instead in the past at the dawn of the rise of their foundation, then it would explain why Mobius doesn't remember him, because they haven't of course met yet. But again, we have a full video devoted to this idea as well. After the TVA is trained and raised to maturity, then this variant of Kang might elect to reset the multiverse, leading us straight into the origins of He Who Remains. This Kang might seek out Alioth and wish to reset the timeline to just one lone sequence of events, the sacred timeline. If he succeeds in ravaging the multiverse, then the TVA would be repurposed, and now their mission would be to prevent further branches in the timeline. He can reset the memories of his variants, which he's been shown to be able to do so that they forget the true nature of their foundation and purpose, which is perfectly in line with what we've already seen from Kang and He Who Remains. From here, the first season of Loki would subsequently take place, with Loki coming to understand the ins and outs of this mysterious organization, while the Kang from both Quantumania and the final minutes of Loki sits behind the scenes as He Who Remains. Here, he might retire from his physically demanding ways of combat and become more docile, though his interactions with Sylvie still show that he is more than capable of evading her attacks by exploiting his knowledge of the future. And finally, at the end of his life, he is confronted by Loki and Sylvie as his life's work begin to crumble around him. The multiverse is reborn, and He Who Remains is killed in his citadel at the end of time, watching as the entire sequence of events starts all over again. But anyway, my friends and watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, what do you think of our theory? Do you think that all three of these Kang variants are actually the same? Or do you believe in fact that they are separate individuals and separate variants? As always, my friends and watchers, thank you guys so much for watching and continuing to support the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I will hopefully see you soon.